Sorry, I'm not doing well today, am I? All right, final. Just pretend the whole lecture so far hasn't happened. Let's start from scratch. Stephen, you ask a great question that leads us on to the first point about talking about the exam. On the exam tab of WebCMS that you can see right here, in fact, I'm going to link it to you right now, you have the information for the final examination, okay? The information for the final examination, and included in that information is the exact date and time of the final exam. So the COMP1531 exam has been scheduled on Tuesday the 3rd of May at 9 a.m, ending at 12 p.m, and that's Sydney time. So actually that's a current Sydney time zone. It's probably worth, yeah, we're on AEST at the moment. So I'm actually going to put that information in there. Okay. So yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, it's a morning exam. It's a 3-hour exam on the Tuesday. So that's when it's scheduled. Anything in terms of clashes and things like that, you should know who to contact. But basically, it's the examination team. So let's take a step back and talk about some of the generic examination sort of admin or details that are specific not to this course, but the entire, all exams that you take at UNSW. So let's talk about fit to sit, or the requirements to sit the exam. So there's some general information. Can you see this okay? Is this better? So there's some general information regarding UNSW's fit to sit policy that you should be aware of. This is the same no matter what exam you're taking at UNSW. So the first thing, it's an online exam that you take in your own space. So for example, at home, but that means you need to be able to secure access to a stable internet connection that allows for basically checking emails and pushing to GitLab. So there's nothing crazy going on. You don't need a super fast internet connection. Even a mobile connection should be fine. But obviously the more stable the connection, the better. Maybe even think about having a backup. If you know your internet connection at home is not stable, you are responsible for going out and setting up an environment for yourself to take this exam with a stable internet connection. Now, that's not to say that you are responsible for an internet outage that you can't foresee, right? So we'll talk about what happens if something goes wrong on the day in a moment. But in terms of preparation, you need to make sure that if you've had a dodgy internet connection for months and months, now's not the time to just hope that it works. Maybe go to a friend's house, family's house, the library, or something like that. Some place where you can sit the exam with a suitable internet connection. Any questions as we go, just let me know. But I think so far that should be quite straightforward. Okay. Then we have something important called the fit to sit policy. So if you're not familiar with the fit to sit policy, that's basically saying that if you start the exam, if you sit the exam, you're declaring yourself well enough to do it. And that means you cannot apply for special consideration in retrospect. So let's break this down and just reword it basically so the idea gets across. If you sit down to start the exam and you've been feeling like you've had a headache that morning or the day before, and you think, don't worry, I'll just push through it. And then you get 2 hours into the exam and you think, oh, actually, no, this is not going well. This headache's too bad. By starting the exam, unless the issue started after the point at which you started the exam, that's different. But by starting the exam, you're communicating, you're basically, agreeing that you're fit to sit the exam. If you're not fit to sit the exam, that's a different situation and you need to apply for special consideration as soon as possible. But if you sit the exam, if you start the exam, and we'll talk about how you start the exam for 1531, then that means you're telling UNSW that you're able and fit to sit the exam. Okay? Is there any questions on the UNSW fit to sit policy? And then assume no comments means no questions. Cool. Okay. If, however, you start the exam and something happens, you get ill, you get anxious, the roof falls in, your internet gets cut, something, there's a myriad of things that could happen. Hopefully nothing does happen, and for 99% of you, nothing will happen. But if something does happen, for example, you're feeling unwell to the point that you can't continue the exam, there's the 4 steps, and this page is going to be up for the whole time through the exam, right? So you can always just come and refer to this. So there's 4 steps you need to take. Start working exam, take note of the time, make contact immediately with the course email address, cs1531@cc.unsw.edu, and advise them you're feeling unwell, so I'll be monitoring the email address. Immediately submit the special consideration application, letting us know that you felt ill or whatever the situation was and were unable to continue. So let the university know as soon as possible. And then ideally, let us know via that same email address, cs1531, to let us know what happened. Send any screenshots of what you've been saying to special consideration, so that we're on top of the situation. But what's really important here is that you don't leave it too long, So this actually happened to Hayden a few years ago. He had a student that was doing the exams, didn't submit it because they felt unwell, went to bed for 7 hours because they wanted to nap, and then let Hayden know, and it's way too late, right? So unless something critical has happened, at which point, obviously your first priority is to look after yourself. Your second priority during the exam period is then to let us know. So don't just, disengage for a few hours because you're doing something else. Ella, if the internet's really down completely and you can't even use your phone or hotspot or something like that, then that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe wait till you get internet and just keep track of everything you can to provide enough evidence to special consideration. But it should be, I'm assuming that if your home internet goes down, you will still have your phone that you can just log in and send an email, or even just hotspot. Or go to campus. Yeah. So I was talking about this at the beginning. If you've got really dodgy internet, your responsibility is to make sure you have stable internet for the exam. So that could mean going to campus, right? Going to campus, finding a room and doing the exam there. Or going to a friend's place, going to family's place, going to a local library, something like that. In terms of the practice exam, we'll talk about that after these details, everyone. So yes, we have practice questions that you can practice on. Don't stress about that. We're just talking about the general information first. All right. Do we have any questions specifically about special considerations, sitting the exam, and requirements to sit the exam? Now, for those of you with ELS requirements, that's completely different. You would have already lodged I'll have already received your ELS information in a portal somewhere, and over the next few weeks before the exam, if it's required for your particular ELS situation, I'll be in contact with you to just confirm with you that we can come up with a suitable arrangement. It might be a bit of extra time. That's the common one. So don't worry about ELS. I should have all the information. If you don't receive an email from me early to mid next week with the ELS plan for you for the exam, it is possible something along in the process got screwed up and I never received it, so you can let me know as well. Or if you're just nervous in general, you can always let me know. I'm happy to work and to let you know. So all of this is if you don't have an ELS plan, basically. So are there any questions about the requirements to sit the exam and the fit to sit policy? Basically, if you start the exam, you're telling us you're well enough to complete it. Unless something goes wrong during the exam itself, then you are expected to complete the exam to the best of your ability. Okay, let's keep going. So, like I mentioned right at the top, but I'll go through it again because I'm going to clip all that out because it was a mess. The final exam is a 3-hour exam on Tuesday, the 3rd of May at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, ending at 12 p.m. 9, 10, 11, 12. At 12 p.m. is the point at which the exam ends, and whatever work you've pushed is the work we'll be marking. And I'll talk about what a submission is for this exam style as well. Now, someone, I think it might have been Steve, mentioned that they might have to get up really early because of the time zone that they're in. It is possible that we can arrange an alternative if the time zone is unrealistic for you. So reach out to CS1531 at CSC. Reach out to this email privately. Don't let anyone know about it. Reach out to us privately with some documentation on your time zone and what that would mean for you sitting a 9 a.m. AEST exam. And you may be given alternate instructions depending on how early or how late this exam would fall to you. But I think it might need to go through special considerations. So just let us know and we'll run through the process with you. And of course, only submissions made during your exam time window will be counted as valid. So for 99% of you, that means only examinations submitted by 12 p.m. on the 3rd of May will be counted. Cool. Any questions about date, time, duration, or requirements? And then we'll go on to the actual exam content itself and the platform. Yeah, I'll talk about how you submit when we talk about the platform in a moment. I just want to run through this all in order. And yes, it's basically all using Git and GitLab. Okay, the exam structure itself, pretty simple. There's 2 types of questions, essentially. Overall, the exam is worth 100 marks. And because the exam is worth 35% of COMP1531, this will be mapped to 35% of the course. So that's pretty straightforward. Roughly about 15 to 25 marks. So a quarter of the exam will be short answer questions. These are pretty straightforward and similar to tutorial and lab questions. They are purely written responses, so no diagrams or no diagrams or modeling will be asked of you in the short answer question segment. So there'll be a few questions that ask you to describe things, dot points maybe. We are not marking your grammar. We are not marking your professionalism of your English language or your formality of your English language. We are purely marking the content. So if you want to use dot points, that's fine. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it pure, keep it correct, and you'll be good to go. So don't stress about those in terms of the English side of it. Just do your best to be clear and communicate the idea you're trying to communicate. But they're the short answer questions. And then we have the bulk of the exam, which is programming questions. Of course, these will all be in Python. And keep in mind that, again, this isn't specifically a Python course, that it's a course that uses Python. So this isn't going to be drilling you on really specific use cases of the Python language or weird edge cases or anything like that. It's the content that we've covered in the labs and the project throughout 1531. So similar again to tutorial and lab style questions. Expect some HTTP based questions, so to write some Flask code in Python. There will be PyTest and coverage used in the exam, and we will award marks for testing and coverage, just like we do in all the other, in the project, for example. And we will provide explicit detail on a question per question basis with, so for example, what commands you need to run to determine how the how the result has been executed. You can use PyLint. We're not awarding marks for it, and we're not even really checking it. No, we're not checking it. So the programming question segment of the exam is purely auto marked. So and we're not going to be checking the PyLint result. Does that make sense? So you don't need to worry about the PyLint. You just need to worry about the output. And like always, the list of all available packages will be provided in a requirements.txt file, but it's exactly the same as the one you've used for the Tute Labs and for the project. So you can't go off and get some crazy library that does everything for you. Not that that exists. You use the requirements in the text file. That's what we use on the back end for the testing, so that you get the exact same result on when you test and write your exam code as when we validate it. Finally, as something that you'll all be very excited about is the fact that there is no hurdle for the final exam. So it is very possible that many of you, before you even go into the final exam, will have already passed 1531 because the exam is only worth 35%. So if you didn't know that, now you do. Congratulations. Sienna, you will have access to whatever you have access to. So if you want, oh yeah, you'll have access to PyTest, yes. It's the same it's not a special environment. We'll talk about the environment in a moment, but it's what you've been doing throughout the whole term. It's nice, I think, that you use a familiar environment for the exam that you've been using for the tutes, the labs, and the project. So if you want to work locally on your personal computer, that's completely okay. Programming questions will have a basic sample input and output, and they contain a basic PyTest for you to sanitize your own work. So we will provide maybe 1 or 2 small PyTests per programming question that will just do a basic check so that you know, yeah, I'm returning my data in the right format. However, you will be required to write your own expanded tests, or at least encouraged to write your own tests. Okay? This will make a bit more sense when I show you the sample exam in a moment. Alrighty, that's it. They're the only 2 types of questions. So once again, short answer questions, dot points, bit of English, no stress, no diagrams, no models. Programming questions, expect some Flask problems where you'll have to write some Flask endpoints. And each question will have its own file and its own test file that we'll stub out some tests for, and we'll also stub out the question itself. So it'll be quite straightforward, I think. All right, let's talk about the platform. This is an important one. So the exam will be distributed via GitLab, operationally very similar to the release and submission of a single lab repo. So in your own personal 1531 repository, like you have, the Tute Lab repository projects, you will have available to you an exam repository with the final exam. The exam can be completed locally or via VLab, regardless of where you complete the exam. You must push your work to the master branch by 12 p.m. in order for us to mark it, and you must ensure that your code works as expected in the standard VLab or auto marking environment. So that's to say that you can't go off and use your own Python libraries that we don't have available. So the process generally is that you will have a repo available, you clone it down, you basically fill out the project, and then you push. That's it. So in many ways, even during the exam, you don't actually even need an internet connection. There's no crazy monitoring system. There's no proctoring system. There's no webcam stream. There's nothing. It's just you clone the repo, you complete the repo, and you must push to the master branch with your solutions by 12 p.m., the 3-hour capacity, unless you have ELS that has extended your exam window. And the code must run on as expected in the VLab environment. Like we said here, you can either work in VLab, so clone it in VLab where everything's already configured, or if you've been working locally throughout the course and by now, if you're not comfortable with your local environment by now, it's probably too late. I mean, the course is over, essentially. So maybe VLab would be better for you. But if you prefer working locally, you can go ahead and do that. If you're working locally, you must have access to an API testing client. So for example, this is the Postman Chrome extension that I recommended, or ARC, that's another option. On VLab, I'm pretty sure these are available. You probably already installed it for the Tute Labs or the project. And locally, these are really easy to install as well. And so you should be comfortable making POST or GET or, testing your HTTP REST endpoints via this API client. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about here, the best possible thing to do is to go and rewatch the the HTTP lecture I gave in about week 5, I think. Maybe someone in the chat can clarify exactly which lecture it was. Because if you remember in that lecture, I went through everything from installing the API client, writing the Flask endpoints, and testing the Flask endpoints, which is what you'll need to do for these types of questions in the exam. Whew. Once again, you can only use libraries listed in the requirements files that we provide. You're also allowed to use built-in libraries, of course, and that's all you'll need for the questions we ask, of course. Yes, like Postman, Blue plays. Postman is an API client. Okay, this one's really important. If you work locally, so you choose to complete the exam locally, and you have technical issues, this is not grounds for special consideration, and special consideration won't be granted. The reason for this should be fairly obvious, but basically we have, no way of validating these claims, and we have no way of supporting you because we don't know your local environment. So if you're really not confident with your local environment, just have VLab running. And you know what? There's nothing stopping you from having VLab running and having a local development environment. So that, excuse me, if something goes wrong, you can just switch over to VLab and continue there. Make sense? And then finally, this one's also super important. Please, I've been saying this, I feel like, throughout the whole of COMP1531. The best way to do well in university in 1531 in your life is not to leave things to the last minute. With the project, it was the case. I know you know this from your assignments and things like that, but really for this exam, do not wait until 11:59 a.m. to push your code to the exam repository. If something goes wrong, if the push isn't working, if the server's getting melted, it may be delayed or something, it might not work. Now, if there's something wrong with the GitLab server, it's unlikely, but it's possible. We will, of course, make adjustments and work with you, maybe extend the time a little bit. But if you go to push at the final, at 11:59 and you've realized something screwed up, you're in the wrong directory or whatever, it's going to be too late for you to catch the issue. So like anytime you're working with Git, just commit and push regularly. That's the best way to do it. And try and get your final push in earlier than 11:59. But that's just good habits in general. Okay, any questions on the platform? Absolutely not, Paul. No, we don't care what the commit messages are. Just that the final commit on the master branch at 12 p.m. is what will be marked. So we will look at the time of it, basically, but we're not going to look at the name of the commit, and we're not assessing you on that. That's all done in the project. Okay. We have a couple final sections. A few sections, never mind. But platform's probably the one that might have the most questions. So let me know if there's anything here we want to talk about. Good question though, Paul. Okay. Communication and help during the exam. Sorry, talking a lot. You'll be happy to know that this is an open book examination. So you should know what that means, but basically you have full access to the internet, to the lecture videos, to the lecture notes, to your own notes, to the COMP1531 project that you worked on to their full extent, with only one exception, and that is that you're prohibited from seeking help from other students, be it in person, online, via WhatsApp, or whatever the case may be. From other students or really any other person. So you can't ask someone for help, with an exception that being that you can ask us for some clarification. So any communications, be it physical, digital, any evidence of discussions, collaboration with the final exam will result in a 0 fail mark for the course. This has been detected in the past. Yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too much. I don't think I'm going to make a big impact in terms of convincing anyone who's already thinking of doing this to not doing it. Just the fact to say that we will look for it. We do detect it sometimes. You have so many resources, you shouldn't need to be communicating with other people anyway. So that's that. So you can Google things, you can look at the Python docs, you can look at the lecture notes that we provide, your own lecture notes, whatever it is. So that's pretty good. We will give you a Python cheat sheet and Python documentation in the repository you're provided, but I really doubt you'll even really need it. Most of the time, I'm guessing if you come across an issue, you're just going to Google it or use the forum or something like that. Okay, speaking of the forum, great segue, Jake. If you've got clarifications or questions during the exam for us, so me and the tutors and admins that will be working during the exam time, so what will happen is about just before the exam starts, the ed forum that you've been using all throughout the forum, throughout the term, this forum here that you should all know and love, will be modified and all posts will be private by default. So anyone who asks questions, they'll all be private. So it'll look like there's no posts basically, but there will be lots, I'm sure, and we'll be feverishly answering them. But basically, during the exam, all the posts will be automatically private, and you can just post a question on the forum, and one of the tutors or myself will respond to it. Please do not email your tutors or your lecturers. Do not message us on Teams. Do not try and get to us some other way. Use the forum if you need assistance during the exam, about the exam. And then with an exception that if it's something that's like related to your health, related to something going, really quite wrong, you can email the course email address. But do not email the email address regarding the content or the exam, just about personal issues that have gone wrong. Any questions on that? So once again, really, I think that the spirit, hopefully, that you're getting across is that this exam is nothing special. It's what you've been doing all term, what you've been absolutely, killing. It's just condensed into a 3-hour time. So if you need help, use the forum. If you want to do your work, it's all done either locally or in VLab, and you just push it up. We'll give you the repo. So you clone, do the work, push. As always, when you're posting to the forum, it's important that you're very detailed in your description of the issue, especially if you're having technical issues. We get this all throughout the term, but really in the exam where it's so time critical, if you're coming across an error in Python that you're not understanding, please post the whole error message. Don't just post one line snippet and then we have to become a Python interpreter to understand what went wrong. So post the details, post screenshots, show us the code, explain what went wrong, what you tried, what you were trying, what you were expecting, and let us know if you're running in VLab or locally, or if there's anything weird going on in your environment. If you're not doing these things and it's a really lazy request, so don't expect that you're not finding you're doing very well in the exam, and then you just say, just post a vague question to get an extension. It's not going to work like that. It's only going to hurt you because it will delay the help you can get on the forum. Clarifications may be made during the exam. This sometimes happens, although ideally that won't need to happen. If that does happen, the message will be made available at the top of the specification that's released on GitLab. After each clarification, an email will be sent to all students notifying them the clarification has been made. And I'll show you exactly what that's really talking about. So this isn't the individual exam repo that you'll have access to, so you won't have to be pulling all the time. There's one exam spec repo that you can just refresh on GitLab, and it'll be there. Okay, submission. There's nothing special. There's no submit command. There's nothing like that. You just push. You just push to the master branch. Pretty straightforward. And then there's some troubleshooting information I'm not going to run through, but during the exam, if something's going wrong, you can access it here. And then what you're all also very keen on is the preparation. So what we'll talk about now, or maybe we'll have a quick break and then come back. We'll talk about the sample exam specification. And I want to actually double check, can you all access this repo? It's possible it's like private. So that's the URL there. Can everyone let me know if you can access it? You will just need to be signed into GitLab. So let me know if you can access that. Yes, that's fine, Paul. That's fine. Perfect. So as long as you can answer that, we'll keep going. 404, it's not working, but Paul can access it. It's interesting. Are you signed in to GitLab? Okay, whoops. Wonder why Paul can access it. Oh no, Paul can't access it. Okay, never mind. Let me see here. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm just looking at the permissions now. All right. Here's what I'll do. I have an idea. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, give me a sec. I thought it was available, but maybe not. Yeah, I'll clarify all that, Sienna, in a second. Oh, Sienna, are you saying it's accessible? Accessible? Yeah, I'll clarify the difference between the exam spec and the sample exam in a moment. Yeah, give me a second, guys. Okay. Okay. Can you try accessing it now? Can you access this? It's working? Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Okay. Sorry, it was set to the slightly wrong permission. All right. You didn't miss out on anything because I only really wanted it available today anyway. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. So what this is the exam specification. So when there's not anything here. Do you not see this? What? What are you talking about? You can't see files. Damn. Okay. Okay, I think I know what I did wrong. Can you refresh now? Can you see that? You should see what I'm seeing here on the screen. If you refresh now, can you see it? Okay, wait for the delay, and here we go. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Let's take 3. Okay, thanks everyone. All right. So this is the sample exam specification. So what this is so basically how the exam works. There's a single repository with the exam specification. So the exam questions aren't here, just the marks and the format and the instructions. And then you will have the actual personal exam repository with all the files that you put the answers in. So let's have a look at the sample exam specification. So we have some details. For this exam, you'll be provided with a repository that all students are provided, including the questions being asked. So that is the exam specification that you're looking at right now, a single public repository that everyone has access to. You will also then have your own personal exam repository. Now, this is not pushed out yet. So this will 404 for all of you, I assume. I'm almost certain. Can someone let me know? But there should not be a personal exam repository where you can actually answer and submit the questions to. And then we have the information here. If the personal sample exam repository is not available yet, you can view it here. So this is the exact same repository that will be in your personal repo. And you can see you have the sample exam and the solution. Okay? Now, you may want to wait hopefully just a few hours until everyone has the personal exam repository. But if you don't want to wait and you just want to get started looking at the sample questions, you can just jump into the global one here. Otherwise, all the other information is on the web CMS page here that we've just been going through. So part 1, for example, clone the personal exam repository. Once again, right now that won't work. For the real exam it will, and in a few hours, maybe tomorrow, it will work for the sample exam too. So basically, step 1, clone the repository. That should be straightforward. Part 2, questions, short answer. For each of the questions, answer in the relevant text file. So let's go through this. Question 1 is worth 3 marks. In your personal exam repository, answer this question in q1.txt. So describe and justify 3 attributes of good requirements. So you'll jump over to the exam sample that you've cloned. You'll see these files or something like this for the real exam. Once again, you can access this via this link that I'll just send you. I may move the links around a little bit, so just use the links from here. Don't just keep hard linking to it. So you'll come to Q1, right? You'll just open this in your text editor, and in fact, let me just go show you. All right, so I would probably clone this somewhere locally, open it in Visual Studio Code because that's where I like to work. Click on Q1 and it's just a text file. So the question is, describe and justify 3 attributes of good requirements. And then you can just put, 1, blah, 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 2, blah, 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 3, blah, blah, blah. Save it, commit it, push it. You've answered question 1. You don't need to commit each answer as you answer. You can do it in blocks. It doesn't really matter. We only look at it once at the end. But that's basically it. Then you can go back to the question 2. Break the following elicited requirement into a list of atomic dot points. Remove or consolidate any unnecessary or distracting information. So you might, copy this, go to question 2, put it here, turn on word wrap. Oops. Read it, understand it, and then, go off and answer it however you like. These are manually marked, so you can do whatever you want. You can just put this is my answer. Oh my God. This is my answer, and then do your dot points. And then you just do that for the 4 exam short answer questions. Now, if you come over, what's going on? If you open up the solution directory, you can see we've put some example answers for the practice exam here. So this is a suitable answer for question 2. This is a suitable answer for question 3, and this is a suitable answer for question 4. Once again, you can turn on word wrap in VS Code if that's causing you any issues. Any questions with the short answer questions, or how to answer them, or how this is all working? No, I'm going to assume nothing means we're all happy. Sorry, I'm just showing all the tutors are going nuts over the final exam about to start announcement. Okay. Alrighty. If we jump back to the specification, so they're the short answer questions. Yeah, you can Google, it's open book, Steve. But I mean, maybe it might be better to go through the lecture notes or your own notes or something like that. Just, to make sure we're on the same page. All right, then we've got the programming questions. Exactly the same idea, right? You read the spec, it tells you question 7 is worth 12 marks. In the repository, there's a question called timetable.python. Complete the function timetables. And then we have just some description of the question. So for example, if we go over to that, let's not save that. What do we call it? Timetable. So if you open timetable.py, you can see there's already a file in the repository that's been stubbed out with the starter code. So you would just jump into the function, go off and do whatever it is you need to do. And Bob's your mother's brother. So, blah, 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 generate a list of date times, all possible combinations of date times are contained within the result. The result is sorted in chronological order. Okay, then you can write, you need to write tests for this function using PyTest. These are, include these in timetable test.python. So underneath or above timetable, you can see that we've already got a timetable test file, and we've already got some starter code to help you with a first test, just to help you make sure the structure is all in the right place. And then once again, you can jump over to the answers directory and look at a more complete this is the full solution. So here's the solution for timetable, and here's the solution for the timetable test file. And once again, that's all available to you in the 2 repos that we linked to. Or not repos, in the directory that we linked to. And then but basically that's it. You do the same thing for question 8, you do the same thing for question 9, you do the same thing for question 10, and 11 and 12, and that's basically the end of the exam. You just make sure you push. One thing to note is that there likely will, similar to this practice exam, be one more significant question. That is the question that utilizes the Flask endpoints. So it'll have a bit of sub questions in it, and because it's a bit more work, there's a bit more marks associated with it. But otherwise, the exact same process. You can see you'll be starting a web application that lets blah, 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 blah. So in questions.py, there is an incomplete series of functions. Follow the instructions here. You go to questions.py. You can see this. This is the solutions. You can see the starter code here. It's already nicely subbed out for you. And you will just write... the internal function solutions in questions.py, and then let's see, in server.py you write the actual server for it. So that's down here. And you can see there's a bunch of useful information to help you get a solution. And then if we look at the solution itself, you can see we've not actually built it. I don't know if that's missing. Why is this missing? Oh, no solution. We're not providing solutions for... Okay, that makes sense. For the server itself. Excuse me. Just because the solution is probably going to be way too similar to what the final exam will actually utilize. Which is... That might maybe frustrate you, but really it's a good thing because it goes to show there's only really one way to do the Python APIs, right? Using Flask. So if you go to the lecture code, that's, it's all available. If you go to the lectures, if you go to the lecture slides, you're going to have an abundance of help to get these questions answered. What I really want to support you with is more the structure of the questions. Like Paul has just said, it's open book. So, nothing stopping you from going to GitLab, going to WebCMS, going to the lecture code here, and then finding the week. I think it was it 5.2? I want to say. No, it wasn't. Was it heroes? Here we go. Flask one, heroes.py, for example. And I had some endpoints here that I wrote. And then obviously you've got it all from the project and stuff like that. Okay. Good question, Steve. With the URL, it'll be very, 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 very clear in the exam repository itself what you need to do. If it's anything like last term, what we did was actually, I don't know if we've done it in the example spec. I don't think we did. But basically there will be a configuration.py file in the exam directory that you don't need to touch. And in it, there'll be a port that gets set. So we'll basically pre-configure it for you. So you don't have to worry about picking a port and then the port clashes with another student. We'll handle that all ourselves. So you won't have to configure the URL and the port. We'll do it for you. And the instructions on that will be clear. Which actually does bring up a good point. And we'll mention this in the exam, but don't stuff around with that stuff. It'll work locally. It'll work for us. If you change it, it might not work for us. So don't stuff around with it. It'll just work. We'll document that as well. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. So you'll jump over, you'll write your solutions in the files, in the correct places, you'll push, and then that's it. You're off on your merry way. Okay. Like we said here, at the end of your specified exam tile, we'll automatically collect the code on the master's branch head. So that means that you can't push a commit after 12 and assume that we'll pick it up because there's a delay. We will pick it up at 12. It means you can't do some Git trickery and change it after the fact. We don't even really care the time of the commit. We're collecting it at 12. So whatever on the master branch at 12 p.m. is what we'll collect. All right. Originality of work, please don't plagiarize, don't contract cheat. We have ways to detect these behaviors. Penalties for such offenses can include minus marks or automatic failures or automatic zeros, academic discipline, and assignment submissions will be examined both automatically and manually for such occurrences. Scholarship authorities can be notified. Don't show your work to any person apart from 1531 teaching staff via the forum. Yeah, if you provide or show assignment work to any other person for any reason, you may be penalized. Note, you will not be penalized if your work is potentially taken without your consent or knowledge, obviously. Okay. Everyone, I think that sums up what I wanted to talk about. I will put a WebCMS announcement up when the personal exam practice repositories are released, so you can actually go through and practice end-to-end what the whole experience looks like. I know you've heard this all throughout high school, probably earlier. When you do the practice exam, and please, do the practice exam, please time yourself for 3 hours. We're not going to enforce that for the practice exam, of course, but if you can't get it done in 3 hours, then it's maybe an indication that you need to work a bit faster in the final exam. So please time yourself, and we'll let you know when it's good to go for. You can do the clone, the commits, the tests, the push, end to end, just like you will for the final exam. Are there any questions about the exam? Okay, Alex, where can I find the specification repo? It's linked here. So on WebCMS, under exam, sample exam spec is here. I'll also put an announcement up with all the links, nice and easy. Yeah, there's the link. Cool. Okay, do we want to have a quick break? I'll fill up my water bottle, and then that's it. I've got nothing else to talk about now. So we can have a quick chat for 10 or so minutes, but otherwise, if you want to head off now, congratulations on completing, I can't state this enough, the 3 projects, the 3 iterations, and the Tute Labs for COMP1531. You've done an amazing job. Hopefully, if you take a second to look back at where you were when we started COMP1531 10 or so weeks ago, you can see in yourself how far you've developed as a software engineer, as a student, and as a team member. I hope you've learnt a lot. I've really enjoyed working with each and every one of you on the forums, in the lectures, going around to the tutorials if I've been able to catch you there. It's been really awesome for me. I know it's been tough at times, especially with COVID and the flooding and things like that, and the nature of group projects. I know it's tough, I get it, but I really think, when I was an undergrad student, I wish I had had a course like this, because I really see the practicalities of when you go off into industry as a software engineer one day, if that is what you will do. you will be thanking us that you're so familiar with things like Git and with things like Flask and with Python and all the tools and the editors and the modern systems and the modern agile development workflows that we show you, because it really does come from people that currently work in industry like myself and like Hayden, who know what we're talking about, and just want you to succeed when you go off into industry. So if you're heading off now, I've got one more thing to ask of you. It's not going to be a surprise to anyone. And that is, if you haven't completed the My Experience survey, of course, I'm going to be hounding you on this. Whoops, don't look at my emails. Let me just get the link. I should have had this ready. Okay, 28%, that is good. Just getting there. Let's view the QR code. I'll copy the link. I'll show the QR code. I'll put the link here. So please, right now, if you haven't completed the My Experience survey, please complete the My Experience survey. I'm going to fill my water bottle up. If you've got more important things to get to, like exam, study, or some final assessments for any other courses, please, by all means, feel free to go and get to that. But just, thank you for the last 11 weeks. Good luck with the exam. Remember, the forum is still open. We'll be releasing marks and more information shortly, so, it's not goodbye. But yeah, congratulations, good work. And I'll come back in 5 minutes for a general chit chat for anyone who's hanging around for 5 or 10 minutes or so. Okay, cool. Yeah, I really need to fix that. So I just don't mute myself so easily and just forget to unmute. I don't know how I need a next level sort of setup, but okay. Anyway, what I was saying was thank you, Liz. Thank you, Felix, Radam, Elaine, Tom. Oh yeah, thank you everyone. It's been awesome. Which Elden Ring ending did I actually get? I got the Lord of Madness one. But it was completely unintentional. I just happened to go down into that. Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but if you know the one I'm talking about, that's the one I got. That's not the one I wanted though. I didn't even know that there were multiple endings, to be honest, but I just like didn't get it, to be honest. So I'm gonna need to do a new run through. I don't know, what did you get? What did all of you get? Did anyone beat it? How did you even have time to beat it? Don't you have like 3 courses? Yeah, cool. I mean, that's what I was going for too. I did the whole quest line and then went into this weird room and then it completely changed the ending in ways I don't understand. So, wrecked. Yeah, I get it, Sienna. I get it. But you're almost there. You're almost there. And then T2 starts. So, no rest for the wicked. Actually, I was talking to one of the tutors the other day that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you got to make sure that you're looking after yourselves in the long term, that you don't just push yourself and then try and rely on the breaks between terms. Yeah, I heard there's an item, but I didn't want to I don't know, Tom. I didn't want to just Google everything and I just wanted my own experience, and I never would have found this item or needle. So, yeah, I get it, Sienna. I get it. I feel the same way. As some of you, sort of pick up, but running a course this size, of this complexity, is a lot of work too. So having a bit of extra time between terms would be nice, personally. But, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Tom. I didn't want to spoil it. Yes, that's what I got. Frenzied Flame, not Madness. What did I say? Yeah, Frenzied Flame. I mean, the ending was really pretty. The cutscenes and stuff, so no complaints. And I'll just do a new game plus and get a different one next time. So, what builds did you all do, or have you done? It's only good on humanoids. What does that mean, though? Oh, okay, because you can... Frenzy is a... I never understood Frenzy. All I know is that there was a tower somewhere that kept screwing me up when I went near it. For some reason, I kept wanting to go back to it. Maybe I can go to it now. If I'm like the Lord of Frenzy, then I can just walk up to it. That'd be nice. Yeah, definitely insta-killed me a lot of times. But such a great game. I really, really liked. It's, yeah, so well done. Let's see how many people are still here. Where's the... Yeah. That's still 30 of you. We can talk about other stuff too. Well, so tell me, having, almost completed 1531, what sort of things do you want to do with software engineering? Are you just going to be hoping to be a software engineer in industry at a big tech company, a startup? Do you want to build your own stuff? Do you want to go into a more research path? What are you all hoping to? I know it seems maybe far away now, but really it comes up so quick, especially if you do internships in like year 2. That's the other thing I was going to say as well, is that I really, really mean it when I say to reach out and stay in contact with me. Probably the best way to do that is to add me on LinkedIn. Let me get my little... I think that's all you need. Yeah. Add me on LinkedIn. I've got past students on LinkedIn. And I love engaging with students. I do a number of projects all year round. I've got students that I taught intro programming 5 years ago that I'm currently hiring to do some development and research projects. At the moment, I have got, not to say I'm not talking myself up, but I've helped connect students with jobs, prospects, and things like that. So yeah, if you're any way so inclined, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to stay in contact. I love seeing past students, especially from COMP1531. There was one recently, I can't remember, who've just got their first jobs now, and they took the course with me last year, and it's really awesome to see that they go from the start of COMP1531 to a few terms later, and they are getting internships and getting positions, and it's really rewarding for someone like myself who puts a lot of effort into teaching that to see that come full circle. Science and mechatronics, Sienna, you've got to talk to the other tutor, Sienna, who's also a mechatronics student, and you share the same name. Like, get in contact with Sienna Archer. I'm sure she'll offer some advice and stuff, because she's awesome, just like you. Muhammad, do I know of any cool robotics stuff? I mean, robotics is really not my thing. I love it. I just don't know. I'm not in the field of it. But there are some amazing robotics people here at UNSW. So what I would say, I'm sure there are probably robotics. Oh, it's not your real name. Lol. I'm sure there are. Maybe you're. Are you just Sienna Archer, just in disguise? I'm sure there are robotics courses in undergrad, but the let's see here, UNSW Honours Theses list. There's a website. Where is it? Let me find it for you. Okay, here it is. I found it. There is a website for UNSW CSE thesis. Oh, so you already know Sienna. Cool. Why can't I log in? Oh, that's a capital. Is that why? What's going on? Okay, don't know what's going on there. Oops, let's go. So you can see my topics here. So these are topics for thesis students. So these are fourth year engineering. It's the honors year. So if you study any engineering degree and you have an honors year, or if you are studying like a 3-year computer science degree and then you go into an honors year as a new course, these are all the topics that are available. And I think anyone can view these. Maybe? Yeah. And I noticed, so look at the first one. The first one, robot soccer. Claude is an amazing supervisor, an esteemed professor. And so, for example, has a project on RoboCup. And you can go through here, and even if you're not in your honors year, and you're not slogging it out for 6 years like Sienna Green, pseudonym Sienna Green, anyone can do this as an optional course. But you can come along and you can look at the types of projects that researchers at UNSW are working on in the research field. And because these are honors projects and not PhD projects, they're one step closer to where you're at, right? They're not full-on PhD projects. And you can come along here and look at some interesting projects. And, it's not always going to pan out. But if you find a project that you really, really love and you email the supervisor, if someone emailed me and was like, hey, Jake, I got a project here. Here, this is my project, which is an AI tool to do some Viva stuff. But if someone emailed me and was like, hey, Jake, I'm a current undergrad student. I just did 1531, for example, and this looks really, really interesting. Can I get involved somehow? I would love that. And I would definitely offer some collaboration if the proposal was reasonable enough, So there's people doing amazing, amazing things here at UNSW. It's one of the benefits of being at a university like where you are. So just reach out to people. And maybe you can ask someone like Claude for advice on robotics, right? Because I don't know everything. Tom says, I'm very comfortable being the code monkey in a dark cave that is occasionally visited to fix something, honestly. You know what, Tom? There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You'll make a good salary, you'll go home at 5 o'clock, and you can dedicate the time you need to on the things that interest you. And sometimes I wish I took a path a bit more like that, but I'm very happy to be here too. Software courses, Justin, there's so many. I don't have the best understanding of all the courses here because I haven't been here forever, but just do what interests you. I mean, AI is super hot right now, and there's some of the best AI people in the world here, so maybe you could do some AI stuff. Yeah, that's an option. Do I have any other courses in UNSW? Yeah, I'll be teaching some other stuff. Next term I'm teaching 1511, so definitely won't be seeing you there in Introduction to Programming. But I really want to build a course. There's been really, really early talks on it. I don't think it'll be anything for a while. But I want to build a course on open source development. A later year course. And basically, there'll be no labs, there'll be no tutes. There'll be labs and tutes, there'll be no lab tasks, no tute tasks, no exams. The assessment of the course will be how you contributed to real open source projects in the wild, and we'll give you lots of support on how to get started with that. Because I love open source development. All the software development I do, 90% of it is open source. And I think one of the best ways to become a next level software engineer, there's only so many people like me at UNSW who will deliver you a lecture on programming and how many things that we can teach you. At some point, getting into the thick of it and cloning a repo that, there's so many amazing repos out there that are really friendly for beginner open source developers. I would really love to see a course built around that because you're all such amazing developers and students that why not use that as a way to get into some more advanced topics. Dinyanda, I'm doing bioinformatics engineering. That sounds awesome. Tell me what it's like. Peter, is it worth majoring in anything or just doing the default stream? Peter, the whole major minor stuff is sort of, I don't know. I don't think anyone really cares too much unless it's really specific. If you're on your way to a major and you're one course off it and a slight choice is going to make you get the major, why not? But do not feel pressured to change your course around or pick particular courses that you don't want to pick just so that you get the major. You can talk to employers about your courses and why you picked them if that conversation comes up. No one's going to look down on you for not having a major. You've studied an engineering or a computer science degree at one of Australia's top universities for computer science, so no one's going to care that you don't have a major. So yeah, that's my position on majors. 151 was kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, it is really rewarding courses, especially to teach because for many people it's their first time programming ever, and it changes the way you think forever. At least it did for me. Once you become a programmer. Someone asked me, one of the tutors asked me, when you completed the experience form, did you have to do 2 reviews for your tutor and the lab assist, or just the one? I'm hoping that was set up correctly. Yeah, I can't see anything about it. I can't even see. Oh, I can view and manage the questions here, maybe? No. Oh, preview it. I should have done that. You did a thing just for the tutors? Or did you surely you did one for me, right? As well? Oh God, I hope I set this up properly. Okay, whew. Panic attack. Because it didn't ask it here. All right, that's fine. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what's going on. Don't worry about it. Awesome. Hope that sucks that maybe you didn't have to do it for the lab assists. Yeah, I understand now. Hopefully, I think all but a few of the lab assists tutored, so it should be okay. It's just good to get feedback. So strongly agree, spam for Jake. The frenzy king. All right, well with that, thank you all so much. It's so sad that it's over. It goes so quick. You've all been amazing. You're all going to be amazing. I already saw one LinkedIn request from Xingying. Like I said, feel free to keep in contact. Not for anything, just because I like to see where you all go off to. Because you go and do such amazing things. Yeah, we can't go on forever, exactly. Justin, do we have any guide to deploy the front end? I don't know if we do. I guess the answer is go to do COMP1531 with Hayden. That's all web development. But it's not too hard to deploy a front end. You just need a web server to do it. But I don't think we have anything specific that'll help you out. Alrighty. Once again, we've got to call it there. Thank you. Good luck with the exam. Well, I'll be in contact with announcements and things like that. Have a great, albeit probably small, term break. Sienna, can I ask you about SMTP authentication errors? You can ask. Or maybe on the forum is best. I'm not too familiar with it. I know that's the emailer. Yeah, maybe post it on the forum if you haven't already. If you have already, you can link. You can't probably post a link in the chat, but you can send me a link somehow to the forum post and I'll take another look if you need me to. Alrighty. Otherwise, good luck everyone. Try and enjoy the break. Look after yourselves. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Something just beeped at me. I don't know what that was. I'm going to go now. Stay safe. Good luck with everything. You're all amazing.